Hello, everyone, and welcome to Up Supercast, the only podcast on the internet that's going to get interrupted 5 times by Magic the Gathering ads. I'm Will, and joining me this week, Brandon.
How did you know that was my least favorite part of the Game Awards?
Ills.
I want to impeach Jeff Keighley.
Noah.
Where's my Smash Fighter 5 DLC?
And Muzamil.
I was partial to the 37 different League of Legends games.
All these and more we will not be talking about on this week's podcast. Because, boys, we've had a heck of a week in terms of video game news.
Yeah.
Just a lot. Normally we do the preamble. Let's just get into it. We had the Game Awards, obviously, as we've referenced already. We had an announcement right towards the start of it, of a thing that I don't think we expected. Like 20 minutes before, they're like, Xbox fans, you're going to want to tune in. Turns out you want to tune in because now you know what to call the next generation of Xbox, which is Xbox Series X, coming holiday 2020. Power your dreams.
Wow. So they just ditched the name Scarlet altogether?
Yeah, they always said that was the code
That
name.
was a decent name. Series X, that's...
Well, Scarlet was always going to be a code name like Project Scorpio with the Xbox One X, you know?
Yeah, I get that, but...
So the name, let's get this out of the way, right, with the name. I personally think it's good. You know, I get why people are hesitant about it. They're like, yeah, it sounds similar to One X and this and that. But, like, I do think it's a good name because, you know, they've cultivated this brand with the letter X, right?
Yeah, sure.
Of like, okay, this is the best place to play games, full stop.
X is the coolest letter there is.
X is the coolest letter there is.
I get
but, like,
that.
You immediately understand, okay, this is gonna be a very powerful machine. You know? It's gonna be a very powerful machine. And you know, they're just making it now in line with, quite frankly, the rest of tech, right? Like, you look at the naming schemes of smartphones, of tablets, of smartwatches, all that, laptops, you know, like, I think Xbox is now just the brand, and you know it's just Xbox now, basically. You know, it's Xbox.
Yeah, you want to buy an Xbox. That's what you just you're gonna talk about it and just say that.
I mean, I'm not enthused by the name, but I think it's better than Xbox One. That's for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's still some confusion because you can't really tell if you go into a store and say like. Somebody tells you, do you want an Xbox One, an Xbox One X,
but they won't be
Xbox
selling
X Series,
the one.
or it's like it's going to be a little confusing. It's not like clear cut what's the latest best one.
But that's the thing, because we know the rumors about Lockhart, right? The cheaper option of this Xbox Series X, right?
Yeah.
I do not believe they will be selling Xbox One consoles after holiday 2020. You know,
right.
That's going to be phased out because there's no reason to. Because you have the Series X, which is the big boy console, but then you have the Lockhart, which is probably, let's be honest, it's going to be called Series S, right? More than
my exact thought would be called that. Yeah.
With that Series S console, that's going to be the entry point system. They are not going to be selling Xbox Ones on the market anymore.
Right. Because what's the point? I mean, it's all backwards compatible and everything, so there's no point in selling the old one anymore at all.
Mm-hmm. Because the point of selling an old system with a generational transition is it's the cheaper option, right? Like that is the point. That's why PS2 sold so much after PS3 came out. That's why PS3 sold so much after PS4, etc. Right? Yeah. But the Series S system, the Lockhart system, completely negates the point of that. You know, you already have that entry point system. And so I think they're just gonna ditch Xbox, and which is why I think Microsoft's smart. Like they're using the same letter, they're using kind of the same branding. It is a clear indication they know. Okay, well, they know it'd be confusing to have 2 X products on the market, right? One of them is not gonna be sold anymore, you know. And so I don't know. That's why I don't think it's that much of a problem in terms of brand confusion.
Yeah,
or anything
and I think they're gonna market it well enough where they're gonna be like, hey, we have a new console coming out. This is the more powerful version. You know, you have 2 choices. You know, one's going to be a little bit more powerful, but both are going to be more powerful than what we previously offered, right? And they're going to make that clear. I think they're not going to, you know, bungle like advertisements like the Wii U did, because the Wii U never bothered explaining what it was to the casual market. The
Wii U's name was bad, but it could have been overcome with better marketing, right?
Yeah, because the commercials didn't explain or show anything at all.
Yeah.
And also, like, I think when you see the Series X system, right? If we're talking about the look of the system.
Well, I was really fast. Sorry, just one final thought on it before, because that's another. I have a whole lineup of things.
Sure,
there's a lot to get here. I think it's interesting because this is obviously also, I think, just a name that's made from adversity, right? Like, clearly, as has been noted publicly many times, PlayStation got to the numbering thing first, and so that means the Xbox was always going to be one behind, right? But then it's also like, well, okay, 360, 720, no, we don't do that. Okay, Xbox One, we cannot name it Xbox 2. That would be weird, right? So I think that this is just them biting the bullet on like, okay, Xbox Series X, we can do a Series X2 in 4 years, right? We can do a Series X3. Like, we can just make this be our thing long term, which, I mean, they're gonna have to do the work to make that be known now, but I think the sort of the thought is that's what we're gonna have. Long term, it'll be easier for them marketing the next thing by doing it now, by biting the bullet.
Yeah, just get this over with. And it's also a sign of like where Xbox is heading now, right? It is now just like it's like the Surface, right? All of Microsoft laptops are called Surface, and they just kind of like go from there, right? Like Surface 5, Surface 5 Pro, whatever, right? Surface Max. And I think that is what Xbox is turning into now. You don't have to worry about the name anymore, like, this is it. We're starting fresh.
Which will, I mean, obviously we won't know until it's out how people receive it, right? But like,
of course.
But I mean, sort of like you alluded to, the other thing that I think does differentiate it is that it is not like a console we've seen recently. Or ever, really, in the way that it's designed. It's closer to a PC tower than anything else.
Right.
The dimensions it's 6 inches by 12 inches, right? Which puts it in a much more normal box shape, I think, than like where it's normally flat and wide is the way we expect video game consoles, right?
Xbox, get it?
Hey. If you want to sort of envision it like in your house, if you have an Xbox One controller, turn it sideways. That's how long it is.
Shine it up real nice.
Shine up real nice. Well, if you want to. But you can. That's how long it is. So if that fits the entertainment center, that's where it is, and it's 3 tall. So just set it down. 1, 2, 3. That's how tall it is. So it's weird. When we first saw it, I was like, I don't know. Is this thing huge? Like, how big is this thing?
Yeah.
It's smaller, like dimensions wise, it's small. It's an awkward shape, I think, potentially, right? But I kind of, on the top of it, there's large vents. There's sort of like a green mesh there, and that's the only fan in the system, which is interesting.
I mean, I like the design, honestly.
Yeah,
it looks like spatially, it looks like it's like conveniently spatially, so you can like fit it into like either like on top of your entertainment table or like just set on the side, and you don't have to worry about like the vents being covered since it's on the top.
Yeah, I like the idea of setting it sideways too. I think it's not going to take up much space like horizontally if you set it sideways, which is really going to be great because we're used to like consoles. I think like just like being the size of a fucking VCR,
Sure.
And, like going back really far in your entertainment system. Like all the way back or all the way across, and this looks like it's going to be saving up a lot of space. Yeah,
it is. Phil Spencer said that the one that he brought home last week that we mentioned on the podcast, he's playing on its side, and they said it's designed to be as quiet as the Xbox One X, which is quiet. It's not a loud system at all.
So when you get on the side, that means standing up, right?
No, like he has it long ways
like
horizontal.
You can set it. Yeah, you can set it horizontally.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is good, I think. When you first look at it, you're like, oh my god, that thing is so giant. But then you think about it and you look at like the comparison points and everything. It's actually, it is deceptively small, Like it is actually
like a speaker.
Yeah.
It's like
sure.
Yeah, it's like
that's a very good way to position it.
Speaker
Right.
kind of way. Yeah, exactly. And so I like it. It's different, and I like that. I had mentioned multiple times that the next Xbox is gonna look like a fucking Xbox. Like it's gonna.
Sure.
And they did something different. I'm gonna give them credit for that.
Yeah. And it's different in the good way, not different in the what the fuck is that? Like.
I mean, now I'm just waiting for PS5 to do what the dev kit is doing with that V.
It is. I fail to believe that will be really what it looks like.
I kind of hope it is. I love, like, I got the One X recently, right? I like it a lot. But there is something that is, I think, weird about, like, okay, well, this looks so form factor similar. Like, a friend came over, he didn't notice I had a new thing, right? And I think that there's it's a novelty, but there's a nice novelty to like, I get out this box and this is a new thing in my entertainment center. This is a different thing, like just at a glance, right?
And it makes you wonder because we know that the PS5, we're going to talk about specs in a second, I imagine. But before we talk about like the details of that, I can imagine that from what we've heard from rumors and stuff, that Series X and PS5 are going to have very similar
Yeah, very
specs,
close. Yeah.
right? And then you can gather from what the Series X looks like, and then what the dev kit looks like. And I know dev kits aren't final or anything, but clearly these things need quite a bit of ventilation, right? That is what the V is for. Is like these things
V for ventilation.
Yeah, they. But yeah, they just need all of that, right? And so I'm curious what Sony's solution to that is. So maybe it's possible Sony's system also just looks wild.
What if it looks exactly like that and they're like pissed off because they're like, it was the first time they saw it too, and they're like, "What the hell?"
Oh no! That's what we did. This is exactly what we did.
Yeah. But like you were saying about performance, right? Once again, we're not Digital Foundry. We don't promise to be Digital Foundry, but we'll give you the numbers as they are presented in front of me. So, the GPU of this bad boy 12 teraflops. That was harder to say than I thought it would be. Which, for comparison point, is 2 times the amount that the One X had, 8 times the amount that the base one, Xbox One, had. It's using, like we said, a SSD. We already knew this for faster load times, and it's using a custom CPU, which is based off AMD's Zen 2, and it uses the Radeon architecture that is AMD uses for their stuff on PC. And then the things they promise is that they say it can go up to 4K, 120 FPS, is capable of ray tracing, and has a variable refresh rate, which are all things that I don't expect most games to use or to reach to, but they're very much like a PC, right? There are options potentially for this higher end sort of product.
Did they give a price point?
No, which is the question.
Worries me.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I did the Xbox All Access, and it came out to like $800 overall. I mean, split into payments of $31 a month.
But that comes bundled with Game
Pass, so there might be factoring that in.
I mean, if you take out the Game Pass, that's $300, so it's about $500. So it might be around there.
Yeah, I mean, that whole program is under the idea of you're paying full price for the One X, right? So imagine I think it's gonna be $499, just straight up.
Yeah, and that's reasonable. That's what you can definitely expect. And
$499 for a premium console, I think the One X has proven there's a market for that.
Oh, for sure,
there's a market for that.
And that $499 is so much cheaper than what if you wanted similar tech in a computer. Hell no, you're gonna be spending a lot more money.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point too.
True.
You know, like it is the price per and performance ratio.
Yeah, I think they're for sure gonna be selling this console at a loss for a little while. But I mean, it's Microsoft. They're fine. Right? Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think that program with the paying when doing monthly payments with the Game Pass and everything is gonna win a lot of people over.
I mean, it's been out already since November 19th.
So I assume like people already pretty much gotten it. So I don't think it's going to be. I don't think the price point is going to affect sales as much as we think it is.
Sure. It's worth mentioning too. It'll be weird because I do believe that there will be the Lockhart as of now, right? There's a chance that it's not real, but sort of a thing that was going to be interesting is that 4K. I think the adoption rate has been steadily increasing, but I think it's been slower than like the adoption of HD, right? For a lot of people. And so I think that it'll be interesting if the use case is this is the 4K future-proofing console, right? That's 500, right? And then we have Lockhart that's 300. That if you still have a 1080p screen, this is the version you can get, right? Because like the PS4 and the Xbox One when they launched we're not using as this is more like future proof than these consoles are that are in our houses right now, right? Especially on the CPU end, they sort of it was more restrained this generation, and so even if Lockhart, I assume is going to be sort of like how the One S and the One X is, like the GPU is going to be the big differentiating factor between what the two of them are capable of. Interrupt me if I'm wrong here, but like the idea will be like you're still going to be getting an appreciable jump in terms of what can be done computational wise, right? Like on the CPU end of things. Because I mean, from the 1X, right, which is the higher end product, this is still a 4 times increase in the CPU speed. Which
Yeah, they said you can pause multiple games.
Yes, which comes into the feature stuff that they sort of
incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so with that Lockhart, from what we know, it's basically just the GPU is weaker, which is, I mean, that's fine. I think that's fine, and it's all digital, of course, right? I think that like that'll make it so that the disparity isn't like that much of a problem. I think, and so I mean, if that's like the 1080p console, I think that works well for them.
But like you said, I mean, this is sort of for both Lockhart and Scarlet. The Series X. There is and with PS5,
Scarlet was a better name.
it's weird to use the code name for one and the actual name for the other. But and with PS5, there is this thing that all of them are saying, which is we want to make it easier to pop in and out. We want to make it where games load faster, right? And part of that is the xCloud thing of streaming your game while you download it, stuff like that, right? And like you said, multiple game suspending is perhaps the most interesting version of that because, I think the biggest thing that people still have to go through a little bit is like, okay, a friend comes online, hold on, let me find a save point in this game so I can load up this other game, right? Like, let me get to check my last autosave to play with someone else. Now, that won't be a problem, right? Like, I can boop over, play Forza with someone, then go back over and pick up where I was playing in, Everwild or whatever I was playing on that.
That's a really cool feature. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I have to fucking play Ring Fit Adventure in the middle of Dragon Quest, I'm upset.
Yes. That's a genuine, especially Ring Fit, because you have to do the whole thing. But the other sort of feature stuff that they mentioned on the console end of things, we sort of assumed everything that is playable on the Xbox One day one will be playable on the Series X. So, hey man, that includes those original Xbox games too, which is cool. Imagine they'll keep working on that. Hopefully, with the new generation, I imagine they had to stop to make sure to get the full backwards compatibility here.
Right. Because they stopped. I know they stopped it with 360 and Xbox original, but. I hope so too. I hope they keep.
They specifically said it was on pause. They did. They said it was on pause.
Yeah. Oh, well, they said
as they work on a new generation, they need all their engineers on making sure
on
that that works.
Right, yeah. Okay. Makes sense, but also is exciting to hear that because I mean it's a great thing.
We still need original Nier. Come on.
It's true. And then besides that, and it says that backwards compatible, all Xbox One accessories and all controllers and everything else will be forwards compatible. So if you don't need to buy a controller.
Yep. So Elite Controller 2, that $150 controller you just bought, it still works. Don't you worry.
That's good. That's really good. I mean, I never bought that, but like, it's good to know that like I'll have 4 controllers right off the bat. Well, 6 because the one will come with the console. So.
Yeah, that's especially because I mean that is. One of the things I will praise the Wii U for was it was nice day one to have 4 controllers because of the Wii, right? So I could play with people.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about because that I mean to get to 4 controllers eventually that adds up to $240 over the course of several years, right?
Yeah, totally.
And let's be honest, Xbox has already kind of perfected the controller, So
they would agree with that because the controller itself is not different. It's slightly smaller. There's a share button on it now, which is was not there originally. But they described it as they've had two chances to iterate it on that controller this console generation, anyways, right? With the Elite controllers, so they're just bringing some of that stuff into this new base controller.
Yeah, you can tell a little bit with the D-pad as well. Looks different. Closer to
the D-pad is straight up from the Elite controller now.
Which, I mean, I think it's a pretty good D-pad. I wouldn't know. I never used that controller.
Mm-hmm.
They've had troubles with D-pads in the past, Xbox.
Yes. Yeah, but since the
Xbox One, they're pretty good.
Yeah, since the Xbox One, though, I feel like they've been good. And they've been iterating more and more. And like nowadays, they're fine. So I think that's, I
wonder, because the thing that's cool about the Elite controllers, you can spin it to have it have multiple kinds of like control with your D-pad. Like
I imagine that still stays exclusive to the Elite.
Probably. That seems expensive.
That was the thing, though. I had a 360 controller where they first fixed the D-pads on the 360, and you could do that. You could, like, spin it to be a traditional D-pad, or, like, or spin it the other way to have it
To
be
have
like that weird like form
circle
function.
thing.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
like that.
So I mean, all the specifics of that being mentioned, right? Which there was clearly a lot to get to. I think it's also very interesting that it happened here, right, at the Game Awards, which
Yeah.
I don't think people expected, and also sort of the whole release cycle for this, for the next gen for Xbox has been interesting to me because it's been shirking a lot of like I think we all sort of expected, okay, they'll announce it in February or March, they'll release it in holiday, right? But with, I mean, showing off Halo at E3 to doing this and showing off a new game that we'll get to in a minute, like they seem to really value, I mean, you know, the Game Awards published, like we had more than 1.5 million or 1.2 million live viewers, right? At the height of the show.
Well, that
Like-
was just on Twitch.
That wasn't just on Twitch. That was all places combined.
The 1.2?
I'm pretty sure.
No. 1.2 was just on Twitch. I promise you. I promise
Okay,
you.
all right. Well, if it's just on Twitch, it's even more, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that there's an interesting sort of thought of like, hey, maybe this got more viewers on it than having a big, you know, fly everyone out event, right? To show off the name. And there's still the potential for having that type of big blowout thing 3 months from now. But I think it's really interesting that they did it here, basically. And sort of like, because the Game Awards hits a weirder, wider audience, right? It's weird. It's more casual, right? Because, I mean, it gets more viewers than E3 does. So clearly something has happening here, right? And so I think that it's interesting that we had not considered it at all, you know? But they did.
Just real quick, these are last year's numbers, but I do think they're interesting about the Game Awards to give some context to, I mean, how many viewers they have. So last year, their peak concurrency just on Twitch alone was 1.13, and total was about 4 million, and that's concurrent viewers. Overall viewers, they had over 20 million views. They had.
Sure.
So, I mean,
and you can look at-
26.2 million live streams for the Game
Yeah.
Awards.
That's a lot, you know, like,
2018. So.
and that's also interesting because that's a whole separate conversation, but it's because they let them restream. They let people watch and restream it. That helps that number get so big. But
Speaking
I
of
think
which,
it's worth mentioning.
we should really like do a stream while watching the Game Awards.
Oh, well, we could.
We probably should.
Viewers, if you're interested in that, let us know.
Then we did get another game announced with it, right?
Yes.
That's worth mentioning because we had Halo Infinite, like I said, back at E3, but that is a cross-gen game, right? Clearly, it's having to be designed that the base Xbox One can run it, you know? This one, not the case. But they said early on in development, this is an in-engine trailer, which means, you know, obviously not going to look like this when it finally comes out, but Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga, got announced, which is a Ninja Theory, right? One of their several acquisitions that we've mentioned on this podcast over the years. Which is funny because they have a history of tech showcases, right? I mean, way back in the PS3 days, maybe they don't want to bring it up, but Heavenly Sword, right, was a big tech showcase for the PS3, and that was them. And then even Hellblade, the first game, was sort of like, look what we can pull off graphically on a smaller budget, right? This is a AA game. This is not a huge budget for it.
Yeah, exactly. I remember people calling it a AAA indie game, which is a weird way to call a game.
AAA indie game. So it's
Well, that's
indie game?
no, that's no. We should clarify. That's what what's the team name? Ninja Theory. That's what they claimed was the goal for themselves. Basically, was hey, we're an independent studio and we want to make this game by ourselves, but we want it to be the quality and production values of a AAA game.
Yeah, and like
which
they
is
pulled
where
it
they
off.
succeeded.
And I think it worked. I mean, Hellblade is a very well-reviewed game, right? It's sitting at like an 83 on OpenCritic, right? People like that game, especially for their first independent foray. Very good, right? Now they have the backing of big old Microsoft with their unlimited sums of money, and yeah, I mean, Hellblade is just a cool game, and this is a critically acclaimed game, and so knowing that Series X is going to have this game, I think is already a big boon to it. It's like, oh, you can expect quality on this system, from Microsoft's own studios.
Did anyone play the first game?
I did.
No.
Nope.
I like Hellblade. I liked it a lot. It's worth mentioning if you want to play it on Switch, the Switch version is one of the best. Like it's one of the best looking Switch games, straight up, right? Like so, I think that type of stuff also reiterates, like, hey man, they know how to like scale things too, right? Like because the thought is, well, if will Lockhart look that much worse, but like if they can get Hellblade looking as nice as it did on Switch, they'll be fine. Like they can do it.
Yeah, that trailer was cool.
Yeah, and once again, like obviously. Will not be indicative. There was no gameplay there, right? But like, it's one of those things that was Halo. I think sort of because of what it is, it wasn't the like huge shock factor, right? Like, can you believe they pulled this off? This is much more traditional. Like, look at what we're doing on next gen, baby, kind of trailer.
Yeah, it looked good. I think it looks good, and who knows what will be like, what the game will look like. But like, Ninja Theory are technical wizards. It's worth saying, right? Like Hellblade itself is a very pretty game, and like you said, it looks great on Switch of all things, right? So like,
How dare you?
I think they, if anyone's gonna have a nice graphical showpiece from Microsoft's stable, besides the Coalition, who obviously will not have a game ready because Gears 5 just launched. But I think it would be Ninja Theory, right? I think Ninja Theory knows how to push that envelope. So
good on them.
I mean, it's worth noting these guys were like kind of the premier PS3 game at first, right? Remember with Heavenly Sword? Like that didn't work out so well, of course. But Heavenly Sword was the game before it came out of like, this is what the PS3 can do, which I think is.
But yeah, so I mean that will be. I mean, they said it's early on, so clearly, we will not probably see it at launch. I'll say that much. But a game that we will be playing way before launch. It's Resident Evil 3, my dudes. Sony had a state of play this week, like we sort of alluded to last week. I would say announcement-wise, like it's weird. It ended with Sekiro, but then it just said, "Go see our trailer at the Game Awards."
Wait, Ghost of
You mean
Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima?
You're right.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Because they're all samurai games.
They're all samurai games.
Samurai games for everyone.
But so I would say the biggest announcement was Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
And great trailer for it, right? Clearly in using the same engine as RE2 remake, right? Coming
which
soon.
Which explains how they're coming out with the game so fast.
So quick,
April 3rd, which is wild.
Which, by the way, they're getting help from an outside studio. They're called M2, but not to be confused with the M2 you already know. This is a 2 spelled out. But the reason they're notable, though, is because they are headed by ex-Platinum Games chief. His name is slipping my mind. But anyway, he used to work at Capcom at one point, right? Like all the Platinum people did. Left, headed up Platinum. Now he's back working with Capcom again. Mm-hmm. So
maybe we'll get Beautiful Joe 3 now, finally.
No,
maybe. But we mentioned also last week when we talked about some of this stuff last week, right? When it got leaked. And we asked, well, do you think Project Resistance will be a separate thing or its own thing? And we all said they'll never combine them. They combined them. That's part of RE3.
Jesus.
I don't think. Did we say that? I think
I said.
I wasn't here, so don't put words in my mouth.
It's fine. I was trying to be nice to Musa. I was wrong.
I was just thinking. We were just trying to. At least for me, I was trying to figure out like exactly what is it going to be? Is it going to be downloadable only? Is it going to how much? Is it
I was under the impression that it was going to be its own separate thing. Like just a multiplayer Resident Evil game like Operation Raccoon City was kind of. But
glad that
them packing it together with Resident Evil 3 is like great. It's amazing. I don't have to buy 2 separate games now.
Exactly.
Sure.
You don't, and probably more people are going to play it this way now than if you did it separately.
And, and I think it works for both products because I do think and this is not to disparage RE3 too much, but I think it is fair to say it is one of the lesser well-regarded Resident Evil games as a whole, right? And that's not to say anything about the quality necessarily, but it is the worst.
It's like the new Mercenaries mode, basically, kind of.
And so, like it gives people more reason to be able to pull the trigger on RE3 because it is hard, right? RE2 is like an all-time great, right? To follow up with RE3 necessarily, it's like it's not as good of a game. I think we can confidently say that, right?
Yeah. We
haven't played it yet. If you compare it to the originals,
the original two, RE2 is way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it gives people more of a push to pull the trigger on RE3. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And like we mentioned last week, I mean RE3, is also in Raccoon City. They're going to be reusing assets probably for this game, right? So it's a nice little thing on top. Mm-hmm. The trailer had a first-person portion, right? Do we think that was in any way indicative, or that was just a little fake out till you got to see it was Jill?
I thought it was
Yeah, that was
I thought
pretty
it was
much
a fake
just
out.
the trailer, like
Okay.
cinematic purely.
Yeah, I
Um,
definitely think
Might be a VR mode. I mean, they had one for Resident Evil 7, right?
They
it
did.
did. Well,
It's-
Resident Evil 7's first person the whole game, so
Yeah.
I don't think they would make VR mode with the camera while you're running, jogging, like it's shaking as much as
it's
it
hard
did.
to tell
Yeah.
what was going on at some points in that trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say I feel really bad for Capcom because I feel like it just, everybody when it got to the Resident Evil 3 trailer, like, here it is, Resident Evil 3, we knew it was coming, that kind of thing. I just felt bad that it got leaked. It was just
Yeah,
hard,
it's-
I'm
I
kind
mean,
of
that's-
glad
State of
because
Play's
I
what
didn't
suffers
see
from that
any
in
of the
general.
leaks, so this coming out was a huge surprise and fucking exciting as fuck for me.
Sure.
So I'm glad. But also, even if I saw the leaks, I wouldn't believe them because ever since the fucking Grinch leak from Smash,
No, they were
Last
straight
year.
up on.
He's burnt.
It was
were
at the
on-
PSN store.
I don't
posted it,
believe
and took it
shit
down.
anymore until
No,
they're
no,
released,
they
no
were.
matter how convincing
They were on
it
the
is.
PlayStation 4 store.
Like
I
it was
mean,
Sony
I-
uploaded the images.
Yeah.
It was not.
I mean,
anyone else.
again, I didn't see it, so
Yeah, that's just
He's
fine.
too brokenhearted. He'll never trust again.
Never.
nope, I will
We got
not.
banned.
And until it's officially released, I
I'm
don't.
Okay,
just
but that's an
saying.
aside. Let us.
Well, no, but I will say about the state of play in general, right? Because we have so many issues we can't talk about in general. It did sing that like it and Kingdom Hearts 3 both were sort of the big things that were exclusive to state of play, and both of them got leaked beforehand. So that
Yeah,
did take the win out
That
of
whole
sales a
Kingdom
little bit.
Hearts trailer was just up on YouTube, right? And it's
Yeah,
just like,
that
It
was another one where I
also,
just-
it kind of sucked anyway because it made no sense.
I mean,
Goddamn
there was
Kingdom
a whole
Hearts 3,
leak
man.
about Nintendo taking down Smash videos fucking before the Game Awards, and that turned out to be fake as fuck.
okay, all right. But yeah, the state of play overall was just kind of meh, though. And I think, but like to be fair to it, right? Like RE3 and Kingdom Hearts, they were the two big things, and we knew about them already, and so that's
Yeah.
just a bummer.
Sucks.
We got some more announcements though.
Well,
Gotta
we
keep
got
this train
Babylon's
going.
Fall.
Yeah, we did get Babylon's Fall, and we'll talk about. If the week was not so full, like I said, we would talk about this stuff. We'll probably talk about some of this stuff in the intervening weeks, right? Especially in January, where it's sort of lighter on news.
Well, until the
Um,
direct comes out, and then
Well, yeah, I mean, it's true.
Damn.
We'll deal with it as it comes. But we did get another new IP at the Game Awards, going back to that, which was Godfall, which is published by Gearbox, is not made by Gearbox, which is worth mentioning. Is a new IP, like I said. They described it as a slasher third-person action RPG looter. So a sloosher, if you're in that kind of business.
Slusher.
what a term.
But it's our first ever announced PS5 game. Just at the end of that trailer, it was like Holiday 2020, PS5.
Yep, it's also going
Yeah.
to be a PC, but it is console exclusive to PS5, and this is the straight up first PS5 game. I mean, I don't have much thoughts about the game itself. To me, it's just like,
Yeah.
this looks like a generic game, but like it's cool that
It
hey, PS5, it's out there, right? Boom, like
Yeah, it's cool to
Looked
see.
nice enough, I
Hey,
guess.
Within 20 minutes of each other, we got,
Yeah, I got really confused later on in the show when I think it was an Epic Game Store commercial and it had that game in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, is this a PlayStation commercial? And then I was in the chat with my friend. He was like, no, this is a Epic Game Store because I was only half paying attention. And I was like, what? But I just saw Godfall. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah. So
Yeah, and
that's
so-
good.
so
It's going to be
it's
Epic
PS5
Game Store
PC.
exclusive,
Yeah, Epic
much like
Games Store.
Borderlands was.
Um,
But yeah, I mean, I don't. It's an interesting one because if you look, the developer doesn't really have much of a pedigree, so this is going to be sort of their big shot at it. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, that's one that's interesting just because whenever we have these new gens, you get these IPs like this, right? That's just someone taking a shot, and we'll see if it works or not.
I like that.
Yeah. And sometimes you get a Rise, Son of Rome. Sometimes you get. I mean, what was
Heavenly
we have-
Sword.
what?
Sometimes you get a Rise, sometimes you get Heavenly Sword.
It's true. Well, neither of those I think would say are
I
great,
know.
so I don't know.
Exactly.
I was trying to think of the good example, and Knack. Beloved.
maybe it's a Breath of the Wild.
Jesus.
Okay, all right, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Also, not a new IP. It's fine. But anyways, the other another new announcement we got at the Game Awards was Bravely Default 2, which
Jesus
is
Christ.
okay. Bravely Default 2, of course, is by the same team that made the first two games. The composer for Bravely is back. It was not actually there for Octopath, which is interesting.
Or they weren't there for Bravely Second either.
Yeah. So they made that point of that in the trailer. But this is some classic Square Enix naming conventions, because you just said Bravely Second, which is not Bravely Default 2. It's a different thing, 2 different games.
Wait, they're
Now that's
connected.
fucking confusing.
Now that is yes.
So think
Bravely
of
Second takes place like 2 years after Bravely Default.
Yeah, so think of Bravely Second as Bravely Default 1-2. Like, you know how they do 10-2?
for Final Fantasy.
Oh,
And then
No.
Bravely Default
Fucking
2 is... And this is typical Square Enix.
Well, it's also
That's
it's
true.
also hilarious because it's also this company too, right? Like Bravely Default is a nonsense name. Bravely Next Second, nonsense name. Like this is I'm surprised they just went with 2 instead of like Bravely Default, the second coming of those who've come before. And you're just like,
Well, I mean,
That would have been an
Bravely
amazing
Default was
title.
kind of like Bravely Default Where the Fairy Flies or some shit like that.
yes, it's they're wild. But the thing that is interesting about this one is, I guess the reason they call it 2 is because it's supposed to be it's a whole new world, whole new characters, right? It's made up for ground up for Switch, right?
It doesn't look it.
Well,
Oh no.
it's clearly keeping the art style of the first games. Let's say that. much,
If we
right?
want to be generous, sure.
I think the environments looks nice, right? Like, because Bravely has these parts, especially in the towns where you're walking around, and it's clearly just like a painting that like your character superimposed on, almost like old pre-rendered backgrounds in the PS1 day.
Yeah.
And that stuff I think will benefit a lot from not being on a 3DS screen, right? But the character models themselves, they zoom up on them, and clearly I would say you're not going to be zooming up on them very much in actual gameplay. Hopefully.
I hope
That's
not.
the way I would describe it.
They didn't look very good to me.
No. I don't think they were like awful.
Yeah.
But that was the part
Maybe
that I
I'm
was
being
least
overly
amused by.
critical, but I expected more, I guess.
Especially after Octopath had a really unique art style.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, I like Bravely Default. I never played second. And I
Me
like
neither.
Octopath, right? And maybe we'll see how this one goes. But
I want Octopath 2. That's what I want.
what's on your iPad?
Well, you got to play Bravely Second.
That's the bad news.
Mm-mm.
Do we have any news on when that Octopath like side story game is coming out?
No.
No idea.
Never.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll find out eventually. And then later on, a follow-up to a story that's over a year old that we talked about on this podcast. We have our first Telltale game after the whole saga announced, which is The Wolf Among Us 2.
Yeah, buddy.
There you go.
According to Jay Schrei, I got him in here anyways.
There he is.
There is not every former Telltale dev, but a fair number of them are being brought back for this game, right? So it's not straight up just a different company.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It's good news.
And as an aside, the first game is free on Epic Game Store right now.
It is,
Oh.
and it's my favorite Telltale game. So
Ooh. All the episodes?
yes,
Yeah.
just all season.
It
One.
is it's a pretty damn good game, I will say myself. I liked it a lot.
I mean, it's funny because this game was announced forever ago. It just got canceled, obviously, because what happened
Yeah.
with Telltale. And people have been waiting and waiting and waiting for the sequel.
I mean, it was a 360 game, right? Like
Yeah.
that was
I
give you
think-
sort of the
I think
perspective.
that's what I played it on, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so nice to see that this, even despite the demise of Telltale, like people will still be able to experience Wolf Among Us 2. I think that's cool. I think that's very
Yeah.
cool that this is happening.
Yep.
Because the world has a
Yeah.
lot of potential for stories too.
And those people that lost their jobs, some of them are getting getting some new jobs. They're getting
Yeah.
Not all of
keep
them
doing what they're doing.
necessarily.
Not all of them.
Which is to be, I mean, we discussed Telltale maybe got too big too fast, so it might. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
the thought was we can't hire everyone back because that's partially because of why we went out of business,
They
right?
took
That
on
and paying
too many projects.
too much for the Batman license. The other problem. Speaking of, we're getting an update to the Batman Telltale game. This got leaked. So these were on sale for Black Friday for like $4. If you missed it,
Yeah.
sorry.
I got them both.
I really,
Um,
I
the-
really messed up.
Already bought them a while ago. So
But they're going. This got posted then pulled down, but there was the full product description, which was basically that there will be you can either just buy the 2 seasons again for I think $30, or you can pay the $5 upgrade fee, which is updated graphics. Everything will be more in a more film noir style, so everything will be sort of more, like Batman Noir, which is a pretty famous sort of comic book, and there will be some new additional story stuff. Right, it won't be as much as like a full new chapter, but there'll be extra scenes along the way.
And this
which
is
cool.
both games or just the first?
I believe it's both from the product description.
Okay.
So,
I think it is.
which I mean makes sense because they just so heavily discounted them, you know. So clearly they were trying to get people to buy that and then buy this probably whenever it comes out, you know.
Mhm.
But so interesting. I mean, Telltale, it in a weird way, it's back, and I think that's cool.
Yeah.
As we mentioned on this podcast, a bummer when they left. So,
Mhm.
not the only
Zombie.
presentations though we had was the Game Awards or State of Play. We had another thing, the Indies Showcase from Nintendo.
Yeah.
These are always cool. I just want to briefly mention before we go over all the games. I think it's really cool that they opened with 2 games that 4 years ago were people we had never heard of, right? Golf Story was their first ever game. Axiom Verge was the first game made by one guy.
Mhm.
But because of, you know, the success they've had, now they can open and close a show like this as surprise announcements, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's just the kind of, I mean, Reggie gave a speech that was at the Game Awards that was very wholesome and I enjoyed a lot, that sort of spoke to that, right? That like everybody has to start somewhere, and it's cool to see these starts, you know, just have people suddenly be put in the spotlight and get this chance to have their games be seen.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I was super excited for Axiom Verge too. I don't know much about Golf Story, but yeah.
And well, let's just talk about those, right? Like,
I heard a lot of good things about the Golf Story.
I love Golf Story. That game is fantastic.
I also do.
You know, and
Yeah.
it is so nice to see because I mean, this is the case for Axiom Verge also, but like, you know, no one. Golf Story even more so, I think, because Axiom Verge was getting a little bit of buzz just because it looked like Metroid and all this, right? Golf Story, I feel like, just kind of came out of nowhere. You know?
Yeah. Golf Story was like was for me. It was to please all those people that were like, when the hell are we getting a new like Mario Golf RPG?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Because those Game Boy Advance the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color ones were like super cool. And people just wanted more of that. And I don't know if did the devs ever say that's what they're aiming for? Like we're gonna make our own?
I think they've mentioned that there's definitely some inspiration there.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like it you know, and I wondered, I was like, what's next for these guys? What's next for this guy? You know,
Mhm.
and a lot of people were like Golf Story 2, or are they gonna do Tennis Story maybe now, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I love that.
I really like how this trailer goes because it's like it's like, oh, Golf Story 2. Oh wait, no, Tennis Story. Oh, maybe
no,
it's
yeah.
Tennis Story. Oh, this is everything.
Yeah.
That's
is
a
Cricket
really
Story.
cool twist. I liked that.
That was
I might pick that up because I'm really like you mentioned. It's very reminiscent of the older golf and tennis games from the Game Boy Advance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I
Which
say
I never
fuck
got to
golf.
finish, unfortunately, but I did enjoy the little bit I did play of them.
Yeah. I
Golf is a
unfortunately
terrible
never got to
sport.
finish Golf Story. I never got to do it.
I hit a
Golf sucks.
game-breaking bug, which was like right before the end, but they patched it like a week after the game came out, so it was one of those things that was just like a bad luck time and place thing. But I mean, I liked it enough before that I'm not gonna.
It's because
be
golf
too mad.
sucks.
Whoa.
Golf
whoa.
is a terrible sport. Shut
You
up.
are talking to
Oh,
all
hell
3
no.
of the members of the golf club right now.
It's true.
Golf is life.
Yeah.
What? Get out of here.
we live for golf.
We
Hit the
love
greens.
golf here on this
People suck.
podcast.
We do.
This is a golf podcast.
All you fucking people suck.
Then, like we mentioned, Axiom Verge 2 closes the show. I liked actually this in the presentations. Sometimes they went a little long, but they had like a face to the game, right? They had a person that's working on the game be like, "Hello, I'm making this," right? And Axiom Verge is well known, I think, for being very Metroid inspired, right? Capturing a lot of the spirit of especially the early 2D Metroids.
Yeah.
And this one is interesting. I mean, it's clearly taking it's the 8-bit to 16-bit jump, right? That you sort of do sometimes with stuff like this.
Yeah.
But I think it benefits well from it. I like the color palette a lot, and I like just
Yeah,
the
it's a
little
lot
bits
more
of gameplay they
colorful than
showed.
the first game.
Yeah.
And it looks like it takes place with another character from the story. I'm not sure if it's the same character.
Sure.
'Cause-
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys played the first game, but
I did, but it's been a while, so like a lot of the details I don't remember specifics of. But
I
yeah.
don't
So I don't want to I don't want to spoil anything.
it's good. There was a little bit. I mean, not without like you said, without spoiling too much. Axiom Verge gets cool and cerebral in a really neat way, and there was just enough of that in this trailer that I was like, okay, clearly he gets it. You know, like that's not leaving.
Oh yeah, this Thomas Happ, the creator, or Tom
Mhm.
Happ, yeah, he's really got his eye on the ball. I think.
Yeah. One man
Got faith in
show.
him. Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
That's nuts.
Then
Oh, and
another
I
game-
heard a lot of similar sounds. Like the soundtrack is obviously being carried over,
sure.
and a lot or evolving with the game.
Mhm.
Anyway, sorry.
Which great soundtrack in that first game. Even if you
Yes,
don't play the game,
very much.
take a listen.
Yes.
Then, in addition, another game that clearly is taking inspiration from a series, Death by Numbers, right?
Yeah.
Murder by Numbers.
Murder by Numbers. You're right. Sorry. Murder by Numbers is a game that it is a game where you play a detective on TV, but then you now have to solve a murder in real life. That's going on basically on your set, and there's a Phoenix Wright elements of you looking around and discovering things as the composer for Phoenix Wright's games doing the music. But whenever you get to those elements that you have to inspect, you have to do it through a game of Picross.
Oh God. Oh my God. I love it. Oh.
Sounds like fucking hell.
Sounds literally like
Adventure
my
games
wet,
and P-Cross.
It is my
murder
wet
me.
dream turned into a fucking game. I was
No
so
wonder
excited.
I hate you so much.
That is, it's worth mentioning.
Ace Attorney composer, especially. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like somebody read my diary. Thank you, whoever read it and made this into a video game.
Worth mentioning the devs. I mean, the thing that's most related to what this is they made Hatoful Boyfriend, right? And they did that update where they made all the birds into actual humans for Hatoful Boyfriend. It's the same artist that did that's doing all the character art for this game.
The character art is very cool.
Yeah. It's got a good charm to it.
90s inspired.
It is very much. But that looks super cool. And then a few other things that were announced. Super Mash, which is this game where basically you pick two genres of game, you put them together, they mash up, and then you get these weird configurations, right? There's one where like you're a biplane from like 1942, like a shoot 'em up game, but you're platforming in what looks like a Kirby level, right?
Yeah.
You're doing an RPG as like a brawler from like a beat 'em up game.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like this idea. I think it's
Yeah.
cool. Like,
Right.
I generally don't like games where I have to create things. I'm not into that. Like, I don't know why, but I don't want to like work on something. But this game, like, it does the work for you. So I
Sure.
like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
A little thing I liked a lot was at the end of his little intro, he's like, here's my code for like my favorite mashup that I found. And you're like, oh, like clearly demonstrating this game is cool to share it, right? It'll be cool to be like, I made this thing, look at this, right? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that'll be neat. We had Liberated, which was sort of this very noir inspired sort of like visual novel, comic book / action game.
Oh yeah, that was
Like
really
a puzzle platformer,
Puzzle
kind of like
platformer,
Limbo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very black and white, like that kind of vibe. Looks really cool.
Or like The Missing JJ Macfield, the Game Club game.
Hey, look at that.
That game
What
didn't
a
have
pro.
black. That game had color.
I mean,
But like the
a
perspective
similar
of it.
game as well.
Oh yeah. Okay, got you.
Then there was Dreamscaper, which was it's sort of like did they compare it to Diablo? Was sort of the thing they said. Like it's sort of you're going around these environments. It's clearly taking place in a dream, as the name would imply, and you're attacking these manifestations of nightmares and stuff.
Yeah, and the conceit of it is that you're like suffering through depression, and every time you go to sleep you have to deal with a certain like issue, and then when you're awake you make friends, and that influences your dreams, so that kind of changes the dynamic of the game.
Yeah,
I thought it was
cool
really
idea.
cool. Yeah.
And then finally, Boyfriend Dungeon, where your boyfriends are your weapons.
Oh yeah. This is a fucking
I'm
tailor-made
honestly-
Game Club game.
Right, tailor made for the Game Club. But like, I'm honestly genuinely really looking forward to this game. It looks there's something about it that just really clicks with me. I don't know, like it's.
Yeah, it looks fun. It's quirky. It's silly. Yeah.
I'm into it.
So really cool. Like I said, in any showcase, we didn't normally do a super long breakdown on these things. The news was busy, but
Yeah,
go
shame
check
we
that out.
could-
It's 20
shame-
minutes is worth your time.
Yeah, shame it didn't. It had to happen the same week as the Game Awards and stuff. But it definitely worth watching. So yeah.
20 minutes also, unlike the Game Awards, which was 5 hours.
Yes.
But yeah, one thing, I mean, before we sort of get on to the final portion of the podcast, do want to say there were awards at the Game Awards, and I
Yes.
want to say congrats to Sekiro for winning Game of the Year. That's I did not expect it. If you gave me the list of 5, it might have been my 5th choice on what I thought would
It
get
was-
voted for.
I
Really?
So-
I thought Sekiro was like being presented as a really good game. Like I haven't played it myself, but just watching like people play
yeah,
it
but-
and what I've heard from it is like.
Oh no, I mean,
Really good.
there's not a quality on the game. It's just sort of like how I expect people
It's
like
just-
games press to vote. You know?
Yeah, I thought not enough people beat it or whatever. Sekiro is the game that like it's the only game on that list besides Smash that I've played, quite frankly. And I really love that game. I'm really happy it won. But it is funny because like genuinely, I had considered every other game on that list that of what I thought was gonna win. At first, I was like, Outer Worlds, I think that's gonna win. RE2, everyone's talking about RE2, that's gonna win. Control, definitely gonna be Control. All these people are talking about Control.
Right,
Even
yeah,
Death,
they have like
year.
some really heavy competition against it.
even Death Stranding, I thought was.
I'm
Like,
so glad Death Stranding didn't win.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad it didn't too.
Yeah. There was all
was
the
in the
people
front
who
row
were like
crying.
joking, be like, "Oh well, Jeff's gonna give it to Death Stranding because he's in the game and he's best buds." But I was like, "Come on, it's not gonna happen."
He doesn't. He does not vote.
No, and I'm happy that Sekiro won though. I'm really glad.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first FromSoft game to have won a game award, right?
Good on
Which is, I
them.
mean,
They've
what a
come a
story
long
developer.
way since Demon's Souls. Good on fucking them.
Yeah. So yeah, super cool. Now, of course, that is all recent news, right? 2020, whatever. We gotta do another important thing. That is the list.
The list.
list.
Follow along in the paste bin below, where we had at a big event over the weekend. The Ranker series happened. 151 games, 5 of them got moved. You would think it's always stressful,
Wasn't it
but
6 of
whenever
them?
we get it done. It was 6, you're right. I always say that wrong.
Wow.
Thank you. But last week we added Halo 2. It did well, right? Number 12 on the list. Obviously, this is not a top 151 games of all time. This is just the games we add every week, and it becomes this horrible beast that we are enslaved to but love no matter what. And now Noah, obviously, since you're not always able to be on the news podcast, you get the chance to add to the list.
Oh. I want to add Point Blank to the list.
Point
I don't know
blank.
what that is.
Not the film.
No, the arcade game.
The game, the arcade game.
Did enough people play it?
I played it.
No.
I've not played it.
Oh.
Was he?
Oh.
No, I don't even
God
know what
damn
that
it.
is.
It's
What? You
one
never
of the
played
best
Point
arcade
Blank?
games.
I don't know what that is either.
I've genuinely never heard
All
of
right,
it.
so what about Time Crisis?
Yes.
I mean, I sort of played
Yeah.
it.
All right, hard.
All right,
I had a
let's
pin in my mouth. Sorry.
have-
I have played it. Yeah.
Was it, did you
I
play
don't remember which one
No, I
I played
haven't, but
because
that's
there's like
enough people,
6 of them,
so-
right?
There's 5, I think. There might be 6 actually.
Yeah, so
Time Crisis.
I-
What's the one on
yeah.
PS2? It's the second one, right?
Time Crisis 2 is the one on PS2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that one. That's. I don't know. Should we add? It
I don't
want
want
to.
to. I don't want to be rooting.
No,
them
there's
back.
3 people. You, Brandon, and Will.
Oh.
Yeah.
And Ills, kind of.
That wouldn't count me.
Time Crisis
I wouldn't
2
count
is
me.
a staple in
I want to
arcades.
include a game that everybody would be able to talk about. So, like, I'm kind of lost what to pick.
I don't know. I think Time Crisis is a fun pick, honestly. I think that if Will and Brandon are up for it, I think
Oh
that'd be
yeah,
fun.
I mean,
He's just saying that because he's scared of whatever else you might choose.
I
can
think
talk about
adding a
Time
light
Crisis
gun game
all
is a
day.
cool idea. I'm
Yeah.
down. We're going with 1 or 2.
2.
Okay,
Yeah.
Time Crisis.
That's a better pick.
Yeah, it's a
in
much
my
better
opinion.
pick.
Because 1, it's a better game, and 2, it's got the co-op, so it's super
Yeah,
cool.
that's
Correct.
like one of the biggest fun things I have about that game is like I played it a lot with my nephew. Like we
Mhm.
love that fucking game,
Mhm.
and it's basically I forgot like the main plot behind it, but you have to
Nonsense.
travel through time. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah.
You don't travel
it's-
through time in Time Crisis. No, you don't.
Oh my god. Fucking. I'm confused with another one. Never mind. All right.
The plot is
Should have picked
irrelevant.
LA Machine
Yeah.
Guns.
Yes. The plot is your guys. There's a bad guy. You got to shoot your way to the bad guys. You know,
Yes,
like
yeah.
that sort of and set pieces that come along the way, right?
Yeah.
Wait, did Noah play Time Crisis?
Everybody, I swear to God, everybody, if you go into
There's
an
a lot of
arcade,
similar
like, you play
If
titles.
you've
Time
gone to an
Crisis,
arcade, you've at least seen Time
Yeah,
Crisis. You know.
Yeah.
I confused it with another game, but never mind.
Time splitters?
Well,
Time
the
splitters.
reason why,
That's the one. Yeah.
right. The reason why Time Crisis it has the word time in it is because
Clock's ticking.
you have a time limit
Yes.
from checkpoint to checkpoint, and so you can't just be leisurely about it and it makes sense the way they do it. Because in Time Crisis, the main mechanic is you hide behind cover,
Right.
and then
And you pop
it's
out.
not, and you pop up at your own pace in a way, because you get to control whenever you want to pop up from behind that cover, and it's different from other light gun games where light gun it's on rails, but it stops you at specific points.
Yeah.
At choke points where that's when you do the actual gameplay, and that's why they have to add that time limit in there, because it's not just constantly moving you forward.
Yes, you determine the choke points, right? Whenever you stop to take cover.
Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there's a pedal. So it's, you've seen a light gun game, which is where you point the pistol at the camera at the screen, right, and you shoot.
Yeah.
There's also the way that you stop is there's a pedal at your foot too that you use to get behind cover.
Yeah. When you press the pedal, then you pop up.
Yes,
and when you release the pedal, you'll go back down and cover.
Mm.
Yeah.
And Time Crisis 2, of course, there was the first one. Was just single player, and so the second one added a multiplayer, so there was 2 screens, in 2 pedals, 2 guns, of course, and it added more than just the multiplayer. The multiplayer, first of all, is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You share the same space, so you can like each shoot different guys and sort of like take your own parts of the map.
You're on different sides of each choke point basically, and you can see your partner pop up on your screen, and you each have a different viewpoint. So it's even cool where, if you play player 1 and player 2, if you play, swap the next time you play, you get a different viewpoint than what you had the original time you played, which is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, in the second game, you use a pistol as your default, but they added like extra weapons that you can use in the second game, where you get like a shotgun, a machine gun, and a rocket launcher. And you can get ammo throughout the game by shooting the yellow enemies. Will add ammo to your guns.
Mm-hmm.
And in the pistol's infinite ammo, and the other ones you have a limited ammo
resource.
set per level.
Just like real life.
Mm-hmm.
Just like real life.
It's always in arcade games. It's always the pistol that has infinite ammo. It's like the weakest one.
Well, yeah, that's your standard.
Yeah.
You go to. There are Time Crisis later on where the standard is the machine gun, but
That is true.
a whole other thing. But yeah, it's a really fun game. That's what all it boils down to. It's just really fun. You go through the levels. There's usually like 3 acts per level, and there's a boss at the end of all the first. At the end of each main stage, and it's just fun. It's crazy. It's nonstop. There's parts on jet skis. Going through towns. Guys jumping off helicopters.
It's it could be a little bit of a coin muncher in the actual arcades, but on the PS2 it was very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, PS2. Did you have to have a second TV and 2 copies of the game and link them together to play multiplayer or something, and like 2 PS2s? Is that how you had to play this fucking game? Like, how do you play multiplayer? On PS2, I have no fucking idea.
It's a great question. I never.
When I mentioned that co-op part with me playing with my nephew, that was about Time Splitters, not Time Crisis. So.
Oh, okay. Well.
You could. I remember though that you could, because my friend had it. He had 2 guns, so you could dual wield on the PS2 version, which is pretty funny.
That's pretty neat.
But you could kind of do that in the arcade, but you were paying for double.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that'd be impossible. Like 2 feet on each pedals.
Yeah, it would take some DDR type of dexterity to get that.
Yeah, you would have to be doing a fucking split, like Dennis. Dennis from It's Always Sunny. But. So we're ranking. Are we ranking the arcade one or the PS2 version? I mean, to me, the definitive port is the arcade.
Yeah, to me, that's what I think,
because that's the one with the pedal.
Let's do that one then. Yeah, well, obviously we should go for the better version.
Right,
Yeah.
Because on PS2, you're using the gun, you press a button on the gun, but there's something about stepping on that pedal.
Yeah,
that,
it adds to the experience for sure.
It definitely does. So. Yeah, I don't know, Noah. Where do you think it should go? It's a weird one because, like, arcade games, we have one arcade game on the list, right?
Simpsons Arcade.
Simpsons Arcade, and it's pretty low because arcade games, as fun as a lot of them are, like they're designed
to be very
experience.
short, yeah, and
they're designed to be short, and they're also designed to be like kind of unfair at points.
Well,
Yes,
yeah,
sure.
it's supposed to be coin munchers. Yeah.
They're trying to get your money.
But I mean, it was in that term. It wasn't as it was pretty forgiving compared to other arcade games. So
Yeah, I didn't
most
feel like it was
part,
particularly.
yeah.
The enemies that would always hit you would be obviously the bosses, right? But like there was red bad guys, and when you see a dude pop up in red, that is the motherfucker that's going to shoot you.
yeah,
And so you want to take him out first every time because you had like the generic guys that would like maybe like
that
every
gives you
once
like
in
a half a
very
second
great
or
while.
two before they actually shoot. Yeah,
Yeah, they would very rare ever even hit a single bullet on you. But those red dudes and would always hit you as soon as they pop up. If you see a red guy, either you shoot him as fast as you can, or you hide and you wait because he's going to
Yeah.
shoot right away.
Yeah.
So it was a cool little strategy there. You know, you'd be looking around, you see that guy and have to pop out.
yeah.
Yeah, the
so
risk
it wasn't-
reward of do you think you can shoot him fast enough or not, right? Because when you go down, you lose time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, also Miss Pac-Man's on the list as well. By the way, we
Yeah.
have 2 arcade.
This
games
is
on
true.
here.
But Miss Pac-Man was like what in the 70s or something? Yeah, 76.
Right.
I don't think it should be that high.
No.
Let's see.
Should it be higher than Bulletstorm?
Where's Bulletstorm? 105.
Wow.
It's tough. It's a tough one. I don't know.
Yeah, it's.
I mean,
Because I
Bulletstorm
think it's
is a
full of
shooter.
great ideas.
Right.
Time Crisis is.
Yeah. It's a classic. It's a classic arcade game at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would put
Should it be
above
higher than
Bulletstorm.
Sin and Punishment?
Oh, that's a good
That's
question.
yeah, I think it should be higher than that.
Okay.
Should it be higher than Geist?
the original Sin and Punishment?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. Should it be higher than Geist?
Geist. Where's Geist?
I think so.
108,
Probably.
It's right above Sin and Punishment.
Yeah.
110. Yes. I would put it higher than Geist, yeah.
God damn, Soul Reaver's getting cucked.
I think I would put it above Bulletstorm personally. I think I would put it below Until Dawn, but above Bulletstorm.
That's wow. Okay. I mean, I haven't played the game. Well, I played other versions of it, I'm sure, but
Yeah. I think
I don't know.
I like Bulletstorm maybe less than you guys did, but like to me there was obviously the moments of frustration in Time Crisis are inherent to the genre a little bit, right? Like it's hard to sort of count about coin munchers in arcades because that's the nature
thing.
of them.
Even though like I've played a bunch of arcade games in the arcades, even I like I would lose, but I always at the time like I never thought much of it. It's like
Yeah.
like frustration only came like after like but like the thing was with arcade games you memorize them and it becomes like a trial and error thing, so like after you've like used up a couple of coins to get past like the hard areas, you know those areas, so next time you go and play like you know what to expect, so then it like becomes very easy. Well, very easy. Easier. Yeah.
You can get good at arcade games because I can go into an arcade and play Time Crisis 2 with somebody in co-op, right? And like I can play it with like somebody who's never played Time Crisis 2 before. And I will last like 4 times longer than they will. Like on my first, they'll be re-putting in coins like 3 times before I even before I even have to once,
So like the frustration of it wears off pretty fast. So like
you got to remember these are shallow games, right?
They are very yeah. There's
But I will say, in terms of like just pure enjoyment out of it, I got more out of the just the stop and go system and the co-op 2 different perspectives thing. I think is really neat actually. I got more enjoyment out of those than I did the sort of combo system in Bulletstorm, right?
They liked it so much that they've done it every single Time Crisis since.
Yes, I mean they hit on
4,
the
5,
idea,
and 6.
Yeah. I liked that more than I liked the combo system in Bulletstorm, right? But that's,
I don't know. Bulletstorm's a pretty solid ass fucking game.
Yeah. I was kind of looking like either below or above Toomba, like around there.
I mean, you guys were the ones that played Abe's Odyssey, so I will back out of that one.
I mean, like I could be okay putting it below Bulletstorm, but I also could be okay putting it below Toomba because I also think Toomba's a pretty great game.
You know what's a good game? Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver.
Yeah, the game's it's not as interesting as Punishment, clearly. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver could use a map, is what it could use.
Yes.
Some good ass story.
It's true.
It has a cool story. And you get some cool powers, but it could certainly use a map and tell you where to go a little bit better.
So you can actually enjoy the story, see the story. Yeah, I mean, you guys want above or below Toomba, or you want to put it somewhere else?
I'm either below Bulletstorm or below Toomba, one or the other. That's where I'm at.
I think I like Skull Monkeys, so I might put it below Toomba.
Okay, yeah, I'm cool with that. I mean, that's a decent spot. I'd put it above Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I think that's fair.
Yeah. That's a coin muncher, but there's no arcade version to justify it.
True.
So there it is. That is number 109 on the list. Time Crisis 2. Surrounding it, 107. New and tasty. Oddworld. Abe's Odyssey. At 108. Toomba. 109. Time Crisis 2. 110. Zombies Ate My Neighbors. And at 111. Geist.
Mm-hmm.
That is the list. That is the podcast for this week. Noah, since you're not here regularly, you want the final phrase?
Pass. I'm not good at those.
Anyone want to claim it?
Ills?
I don't have anything prepared.
All right, I'll do it.
Brandon time. While you do that, Brandon, while you think on that, Brandon, this podcast is out every Monday. We would appreciate it very much if you follow us to make sure that you do not miss it in your feed on your podcast service of choice that you will listen to this to, or if you're on SoundCloud or YouTube following us there, as well as at twitter.com/JumpUpSupercast. We have a Patreon where if you want to get to access to a Discord server where you can help just chat, also get to vote on Game Club games once every round. There's a couple of cool little benefits, only $1 a month, right? That's less than a cup of coffee, so check it out.
You can listen to the podcast as we record it live and listen to all our mistakes and fuck ups and everything. So.
There's a lot. Thank you, Sam.
Wow.
But
including the mistake that we're not in the recording room right now.
Correct. The biggest mistake of all.
I'm okay with that.
But along the way, also, we have another podcast we do every other Thursday. Last week we uploaded The Missing. JJ Backfield and the Island of Lost Memories? Or just the Island of Memories?
The Island of Memories.
Island of Memories.
Took me a minute.
This is a very hard title.
But I listened to it. Had a great time listening. So I would recommend it very much to check out. Didn't listen to the spoiler part, but that's because I want to play it. But besides all that, of course, we also are on Twitch, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, all at Jump Up Supercast. You can follow us there as well. YouTube, correct. And that is the podcast, like I said. Well, thank you all for listening. And now, Brandon, your final phrase.
Listening to Reggie last night made me really just appreciate this thing that we love, video games. Really made me just think about how much video games have just really changed my life and made my life better. Of course, I got important people in my life. All my friends and family were super great, and I really appreciate them. But I also appreciate video games a lot, and I think it's really cool that video games really do bring people together. I wouldn't be on this podcast. I wouldn't know the fellows that I'm on this podcast with without video games. So video games are great, and you should play them all the time. And if you don't, you should, because there's something out there for everybody. There really is. You might think you don't like video games, but the way they've evolved and become so different, and, there's just something out there for everyone. I promise you, there really is. So maybe if you're listening to this podcast, you probably love video games. Find somebody who doesn't. Show them a game that you think they'll like and see what you can do, because I think video games should be in everyone's life. So, on that note, go out there, play some video games, and be nice.
Nerd!
Got him.